In this video, we're going to talk about a few things. First off, the median, which is the value in the middle. From my lecture notes, you will see a list of the top grossing movies for 2018. So the top grossing was actually Black Panther, which was $700 million. And the 15th, was $188 million for A Quiet Place. So you can see that these are already, listed from smallest to biggest. So when you're finding the median, you need it to be listed from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest. And the value in the middle is the exact middle. Now, if you have an odd number of data points, there will be one number in the middle. Okay. If you have an even number of data points, then there will be a shared middle. There will be two in the middle, and you want to average those together. Okay, I have 15 data points. So sometimes people are really good at being able to find the middle when you're talking about numbers. But 15 is odd, and if you take 15 and divide it by 2, you get 7.5. If you round that up, what it'll tell you is that the 8th spot is the middle, because there would be 7 above it, 7 below it, which would be 14, and then 14 total, and then there'd be that 8th one in the middle. So let's go ahead and count the 8th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 220 million or 220 is our median. If we had 14 data points instead of 15, 14. Then we would have a shared middle. So if there were 14 data points, we'd have a shared middle. We'd take this 236 and 220 and average them together to get the middle. Okay, but we don't. We have an odd number, so we're good to go. Okay, so my median is 220. All right, now, here's the deal, and this is why the median is so important. Obviously, we had some high-grossing movies in here, but we have a giant gap. And then we've got a lot in the 200s to the 100s. So what's happening is that this data is not symmetric. If we actually graphed it with a histogram, we'd see that it's not. It's going to have some outliers and some weirdness. So what happens is if I actually took the average of all of these numbers, these top grossers would shift my average up above where the actual middle of the data is. That's why the median is so important to use for skewed data. When you have crazy outliers like our scores up here, it is going to pull the mean away from the middle. So the median is a better representation of the middle. Okay, now what about looking at variation? All right, to look at those things, we look at what is called the IQR, which uses Q1 and Q3. So the Q's stand for quarters. Quarters, of course, mean divided into 4. Okay, so what happens is that you have our median, which is here. The lowest number in your data set is the minimum. The largest in your data set is the maximum. Okay, and what happens is that we want to go basically halfway between the median and the minimum. Okay, so when you have an odd number of data points, what you do is you throw out the odd number and you're going to take the middle of these guys. So the middle here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the middle of 7 would be this 4th guy right here. So I'd have 3 above, 3 below. So this guy is called Q1. It is labeled Q1 because it is in the bottom part of the data. Okay, we're going to do the same thing up at the top. So the middle of these 7 values, okay, so I have 7 values here. So I'd have 1, 2, 3 below, 1, 2, 3 above. So this guy's my middle. So this here is my Q3. All right, here's how it works. Okay, so we have found the Q1 and the Q3. So how we measure variation when we're talking about skewed data is not with standard deviation. We do it with what's called the IQR. IQR is looking at the number spread between Q3 and Q1. So I would take 417 and I'm going to subtract 201. So what this is saying is that the middle of my data is happening among a spread of 216 data points. So the middle of my data is falling between 201 and 417, which is a distance of 216. So IQR is telling us how big the spread is, but I like to follow that up with saying that it's happening from 201 to 417. So I'm saying that it's happening from a bottom number of 201 to 417. So this is representing the middle 50% of my data. Okay, now, how do I know it's the middle 50%? Well, one is that I told you, but the other part is that we have our data chunked into quarters. Quarters are 4. So 100 divided by 4 is 25%. So what's happening is that 25% of the data lives here. 25% lives between Q3 and the median. 25% falls between the median and Q1. So 25 and 25 is 50. So let me go ahead and write 25% and 25%. Okay. And then our bottom 25% is right here. So as you can see, 25, 25, 25, 25 adds up to 100. Okay, but the middle 50% is really what I'm interested in. All right, I know that's a lot to drop on you guys, but this is the main idea. Now, the good news is that you don't have to find any of this by hand. You can actually calculate it using StatCrunch. So in the next video, I'm going to do a recap of the ideas here and show you how to quickly make these calculations using StatCrunch.